Good evening, one and all. On behalf of Mracon 2024, we would like to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you to the inaugural function. I, Dr. Divya Lala, and Dr. Aarti Zope are excited to be your MC for this wonderful event. Let's kickstart this event by calling upon our esteemed dignitaries on the dais. Dr. Arvind Chopra, sir. Dr. Chandrasekhar, sir. Dr. Rohini Samant, ma'am. Dr. B.G. Dharmanand, sir. Dr. C. Balakrishnan, sir. Dr. Smriti Ramtake, ma'am. Dr. Akerkar, sir. Dr. Shashank, sir. We need to wait. We will now commence our event by lighting the lamp of knowledge and wisdom.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Thank you, dignitaries. I now welcome on stage our dynamic and beautiful organizing secretary for the event, Dr. Smriti Ramtake ma'am, who has played a pivotal role in coordinating this conference and who is the real mastermind behind today's event. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Arvind Chopra sir, Dr. Chandrasekhar sir, President IRA, Rohini madam, President MRA, Dr. C. Balakrishnan sir, our Honorable Scientific Chairperson, and Dr. Shashank Akerkar, the MRA Secretary. I welcome you all on behalf of Team Vidarbha. I thank Dr. Arvind Chopra sir, who had delegated this responsibility to us during the first Mracon. I remember that was in Nasik. He said, Smriti, why don't you do it in Nagpur? And I thank him thoroughly from the bottom of my heart today because it has been a wonderful journey. This journey through Mracon has been an unforgettable experience for the whole team. We have actually put our sweat and blood, though it might sound an exaggeration, to make it a great and memorable event. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. V.R. Joshi sir, who encouraged us to write the history of Maharashtra rheumatology, lest it be lost in the wilderness of time. We are thankful to the MRA team, Dr. Rohini Samant madam and Dr. Shashank Akerkar and Dr. Ajit Nalavade, whom we have pestered a lot for the finances, our treasurer, and they have been kind and cooperative and helped us at every step. Please believe me when I say that Dr. Balakrishna sir has held our hand at every step and facilitated the whole scientific agenda. And without him, this event would not have been possible in such a great way. He has taken care of the scientific session. A big round of applause for him. Last but not the least, each of our organizing team member has contributed so immensely. Words fail. I cannot express my gratitude, and I feel that I'm blessed to have such a wonderful team with me. And I'm telling you, I'm the lowest working member of this team. Everyone has put so much of effort, so many of nights and so much of interaction, and everyone was present for every meeting. We came to Penge together, we finalized the things. Sachin, I tell you, I have been calling him up at least 2 to 3 times every day. He was operated 10 days back for appendicitis, and in 2 days he was back. And yesterday, before me, he has come here at 9 o'clock. Akash came here yesterday evening. He was there till night. Dr. Kharkar is here. I think I am blessed, and I hope that this is not a team, we are family. And I hope that the same spirit is imbibed by the MRA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We would now have the inauguration of souvenir for Mracon 2024, for which we would like to call on stage Dr. Samir Joshi and Dr. Saurabh Chahande sir, the editor-in-chief and the brains behind our souvenir. Dr. Samir Joshi and Dr. Saurabh Chahande sir, please, on the stage. Mracon 2024 souvenir. Thank you. We are now thrilled to announce the inauguration of COVID Diaries, a compilation of Corona cartoons by Dr. C. Balakrishnan sir. We would like sir to give a gist about the compilation, a few words on the book, please sir. So please, few words about the...
It's nothing much. I learned cartooning when I was doing my pharmacology. the last row. So it was, sometimes the lectures were so boring that that's when I learned in MBBS. And I've always been cartooning for a long time. And COVID, that time we didn't have anything else to do for 6 months, although Rohini and I did COVID duties for 6 months. But that apart, there was a lot of time. So I used to do one cartoon a day and send it in our group of doctors. And one of my colleagues, Dr. Deepraj Bhandarkar, who's a laparoscopic surgeon, he had the presence of mind to collect everything and make a PDF. And people suggested that I should bring this out as a book and sell it. Somehow that didn't strike me as something that I would do. So I have just kept it, and suddenly Smriti phoned up that day and said, can we give it as one of the things for people who have come, for the delegates? I said, fine. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Can be freely used in any lectures that you can copy it.
So we now proceed to our felicitation ceremony. We would like to felicitate our inspiration, visionary, revered, and our first president of Maharashtra Rheumatology Association, Dr. Arvind Chopra, sir. I would like to call upon stage Dr. Sachin Dote to do the honors.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sachin. I would request our esteemed, influential, motivational and guidance-oriented IRA President, Dr. Chandrasekhar sir, to speak a few words about perspective in management of autoimmune disease today and tomorrow. Dr. Chandrasekhar sir, please.
Yeah, yes, sir. We can see that. So this PPT, 20 minutes? Sir, this PPT? Yeah, that's right. दो सर this pointer. Okay, select, yeah. Good evening. At the outset, I thank the organizers for inviting me to be a part of this beautiful meeting, which is in the heart of the India, near close to 0 mile of India. And of course, in a beautiful environment of completely in the wilderness of this forest. Though because of my lot of preoccupation, I couldn't really enjoy the every other moments which are in potential. But of course, it made me to, motivation to come back again to Nagpur and visit these places. I think in the next 20 minutes, I just take you through the journey that what I have seen in the past 25 years after entering the immunology field in the field of rheumatology. I keep always telling I am a rheumatologist by default, but I am basically interested more in immunology. My whole work and my perspectives I work more on in the field of immunology, and rheumatology is the core practice which I really do. With this perspective, I'll just try to make you to go through some of the papers which I have presented 10, 15 years back. It is still relevant to what it stands right now. And also on the concept of management of autoimmune diseases, how and what is the perspective on the concept on which we try to work on this autoimmune disease. So just to quickly sum up, I think most of us know very clearly an autoimmune disease sets in because immune system goes out of its tolerance to the self protein, develops either autoreactive B cells, T cells, or autoantibodies that in turn accumulate either in the specific organ or across the system, produces injuries, inflammation, utilizing your innate immune system as well as utilizing the adaptive immune system. Because of the persisting ongoing inflammation, it produces in the organs the respective damages, as a consequence of which we develop multiple syndromes. I mean, that's the fundamental three-liners of most of the autoimmune disease. So now, this is the paper which I have published in 2012. I think it is cited by more than 120. If you see, it has been published in Indian Journal of Pharmacology, though I submitted in few of the better journals, they refused to publish it because the concept was totally different and alien. But of course, though it is in one of the inconspicuous journal, it has been cited by more than 128 to 130. Anybody who tried to work on the newer concepts of autoimmune disease. So these are the few observations I think we all should know. Autoimmune disease is not a single cell disease. Multiple cell plays a role, and multiple mediators are at work, and multiple cytokines are at work. And we do know proportion of autoimmune disease goes for a spontaneous resolution. This is one of our, what we can say, twilight in management of autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease can go for a remission after some point of time. Relapses are common, we know that. It may go for remission and come back, and that's the way the autoimmune disease goes. And we do know in 30% of the patients we have combination of autoimmune disease, you have multiple combination of autoimmune disease. And especially of late, since we have most of the autoantibody workups are available, we pick up even before they get into any syndromic features. And we know both genetic, environmental factors influence it. The disease process is dynamic. It's not what the rheumatoid arthritis when you start, and it keeps on changing with the time course. It may start in joints, may start interstitial lung disease, it may start with B cell, then may move into T cell, or T cell to B cell. These kind of switchover is a part and parcel of any of these autoimmune diseases. It's a disease in contrast to other, it's a dynamic disease and keeps changing and fluctuates between its immune system limb which it's going to use. So both clinical and immunological features keep varying, and there is no single defect with an exception of some things. When I wrote in 2012, there were not of monogenic autoinflammatory syndromes which were described, but they have come into limelight. So now we have a good number of monogenic autoinflammatory cells. That is what is today and what's going to be tomorrow, but that was not what it was there in the previous time when I wrote it. So we need to know it's one of the dynamic disease. And there are many inconclusive studies which have been tried to manipulate in vitro, in vivo, these kind of variations. With an exception of few autoantibodies, we are unable to identify or have a good mimicker in the animal models. So we have, with a few exceptions, we don't have a true animal model of our autoimmune diseases. And you know, these are all the cells which participate. You can note the cells instead of CD4, CD8, CD6. I have maintained T4, T8, but that was the nomenclature which was there at that time for CD4, CD8. And now it is CD4, CD8 what we talk about. So having said that, now, when we start treating and managing any of the disease, leave alone the autoimmune disease, grossly, when we approach a disease in medical management, I can say there are 4 prototypes of managing any disease. The approach is, one is how we manage infectious diseases. Other one is a metabolic and regulatory deficit disorders, oncology therapies, and transplant rejection model. I have not put anything with reference to autoimmune disease because we really don't have any specific autoimmune disease model then and even today now. So if you go through, what do we do when it comes to infectious disease? Fundamentally is figure out which is the infective organism, and once you know what is the infective organism, identify the infective organisms, look at the sensitivity of it, and with a primary objective when I manage an infectious disease is to eliminate the pathogen as much as possible, and hoping the immune system as well as the host eliminate the rest of the microorganisms. That's how we work, and several host factors work on that. So we have again in the infection model 2 different models. One is with the bacterial and the viral models. Bacterial and fungal follows because most of the antibacterials are broad spectrum. It's not just effective on one single or one bacteria. In contrast to antiviral, because quite a good number of antivirals are single specific. They work on 1 or 2 of the viruses, not much of them. And hence, when I approach bacterial infection, I use a broad spectrum before I get a sensitivity. Once I get sensitivity, I pick and choose that with an intention to eliminate the bacteria or pathogens from the host. So what do I do when it comes to oncology disease? It is very simple. You have a cell which is malignant, either single or multiple, and key step is to eliminate and reduce the cellular load as much as possible, either surgical, chemical, chemotherapy, or any other methods. The whole objective is to reduce the the cell load in there. When it comes to model of metabolic diseases or say for example hypertension, diabetes, hypothyroid or any other, what we do is I replace the defective things or work on the deficit and try to fix it as much as possible to see to that the functionality of the host or functionality of the individual is maintained much better. Then comes the transplant rejection management. This is what we were trying to adopt, and it is what even now we adopt with reference to autoimmune disease. What we do is, in transplant, it's of course a nitrogenic status. When I put a transplant or any of the organ, our concern is to avoid the rejection of the organ, the damage or injury happening to the organ, that we work out by using varieties of immune suppression strategies. So now, when it comes to autoimmune disease, which is the best approach? Can I eliminate some cells and do away with it? Answer is no. Can I bring down the load of inflammatory or immune response? That's not what it is. And some approaches are we make use from what is available. So now, how do I approach this autoimmune disease? Classification 1, we try based on the organ involvement. We have a single organ involvement or a systemic autoimmune disease. When it comes to single organ or organ-specific disease, here is the issue that what we handle. Based on the organ that it is targeted, we start working out our principles of management. For example, if it is autoimmune thyroiditis, what I do is I don't interfere with any immune suppression or immune modulators. What we do is we let immune system to damage the thyroid, and once the thyroid is damaged, we go for replacement of the thyroxine or thyroid management. So how do you explain this patient to some of my thing is, if someone puts a knife on your neck and asks for you to what you should do, if you have 10 rupees in your purse, hand it over and run away. If you have crores of rupees, fight with it. That's what I do if it is with the renal system or any other system. If it is a isolated nephritis, isolated interstitial lung disease, I pound these patients with immune suppressions to bring down the immune system's response and damage, thereby to save the organ. When it comes to systemic autoimmune disease, what we try to do is use immunosuppressions or immune modulations to keep the inflammation at its low. But this fundamentals over a period of time has changed because we started understanding it is not just inflammation which is responsible, there could be multiple defects. So that's how a new classification has come. It is yet to be implemented in its full scale because we don't try and work up each patient who present with autoimmune disease, whether it is monogenic, polygenic, or both multimodal, because to the date, what we do is we, with an exceptional cases where we suspect a possibility of monogenic, we don't go for genetic testing or any genetic mapping or any other things. But somehow, approach gradually, we are moving towards these genetic mappings. And then comes these are the monogenic defects that we have, and we have multiple monogenic defects, and based on monogenic defects, we have different approaches that you have. If you can see, the innate immunity defects are most often now can be approached by using a single interventions. When it comes to polygenic or adaptive immunity response, still the treatment lines are non-specific. We usually use intervening TNF pathway, B cell pathway are one of these pathways. So this has led to a lot of chaos, confusions, and I just skipped through these slides because just to show the list of autoimmune diseases which are growing and classifying. And overall, if you see, this is one of the latest publications where they are trying to connect between the multiple autoimmune diseases. You can see there are diseases which are coincide in one certain points and overlap on each other sides. In this network analysis, using more than 70 different autoimmune diseases, if you can see, there is a lot of crossover and a lot of overlap which occurs between autoimmune disease. So now we know very clearly autoimmune disease is an internal dispute. It is between your immune system, which has mistakenly identified the structure of your own, and that's where the things are. So now, the cartoon says, in the event of dispute resolution, what are the pathways I have? So number one, wait for resolution and block as much damage as possible. In essence, since spontaneous remission is a possibility in autoimmune disease, what we can do or try is to avoid or reduce the impact of inflammation on variety of organs. Wait for the spontaneous resolution. I think all of us know rheumatoid arthritis, when it goes for remission, it's not that it remitted by the drug I use, it is remitted on its own because of the impact and the blocks. It's not that we have manipulated, tried, or altered any of the immune responses. So what we currently do is wait for the spontaneous resolution and block as much damage as possible. So that's what is happening currently across the globe on all the wars. We are not trying to resolve what's happening. We are trying to avoid the impact that it can have. Then the next possibility is proactively try to resolve the dispute and avoid and reduce the impact or a collateral damage. So you can work on both the aspects. And also next is straight away intervene and resolve the possible dispute or possible problems. So based on that, if you look back, in the earlier approach, what we were trying to do is asymptomatic replacement therapies or conservative approach, or use non-specific immunosuppressions, use corticosteroids, cytotoxic agents. Down in 2012 and in the earlier part of our days, we were very hesitant to use immunosuppressives. The pyramidal approach is always used to say, use symptomatic management, followed by immunosuppression, and then further and further immunosuppressions. So over the time, we realized that that's not the best way. Go for early aggressive treatment, treat to target, where we, even if you remember, the targets are purely clinical based parameters. There are very few laboratory parameters or immunological parameters based on which we will say that the patient has gone for a resolution. We look at the joint counts, we look at the inflammatory markers, we look at the other things. Even in SLEDAI or any of the disease activity, if you look at, they are pure clinical parameters, which if alters, we are okay with it. And if it is, we are not really looking at any of these, the parameters which could be responsible or which can reflect the autoimmune responses is still active or proactive. So over a period of time with this, we have developed combination therapies, we have biologics and targeted synthetic DMRs, focus or anti-inflammatory response. See, I think sometimes we get mixed up with targeted synthetic DMR and targeted therapy of oncology. See, in the targeted therapy of oncology, the therapy targets the element which is abnormal and which is responsible for multiplication and proliferation of the cell in question. Here, the target-specific DMR targets a specific point in the immune process, but not in the disease process. And the target that it targets, like for example, the STAT-JAK pathway, it's a natural pathway which the immune system engages with in its day-to-day activities. So that being the case, still we are wondering whether we have to use it as a targeted therapy or better to use it as target-specific therapies. because what we thought if I target TNF, what we thought if we target IL-6, what we thought if I target some cells I can achieve a remission was still not something which we have caught up, because I still remember in 95 when I passed out of SGPJ with DM, that's a time when the anti-TNF came into force, and we were all thinking that the rheumatologist has no more jobs to do because TNF is going to reduce the rheumatoid arthritis completely. And I think it's more than 3 decades. I think we have still the rheumatoid arthritis and all the disease flocking around you. So the targeted therapy, what we were talking about, is a target that was not what is really causing the disease. It was one of the immune response, which was a part and parcel of the disease process. The person whom I arrested was not the one who is responsible for the job or the problems. So what we are left with is the treatment paradigm still works on the non-specific processes, like you have several of them which has come. So now, over a period of time, we are hoping to get a specific therapeutic approach for autoimmune disease, which includes a cell-based therapies like polyclonal Treg cells, autoantigen specific T cell regular cells, autoantigen specific CAT cells, autoantigen specific chimeric Tregs, tolerogenic disease, etc. And also there are some non-cell based therapies like low-dose IL-2, TNF2 agents, and the other one, rituximab, can still be considered as possibly one of the disease eliminating this treatment basic, because you eliminate the B cells which are autoreactive, and the repopulating B cells with a hope will not be having autoreactive B cells. Barring that, most of the treatment approach that what we have are something which is not specific to the disease process. So that's why I still leave with it that saying that we still don't have a good specific model for management of autoimmune disease. This is one of the interesting slides which I always show before I go into personalized and the precision medicine. The major drawback with which we are working with reference to autoimmune disease management is we believe on any drug which works more than in 60% of the patient is a drug which can be used. And if the p-value between the placebo and the active drug is more than 0.05, is a drug which can be approved. And some of the parameters which we use are also on the very vague, like ACR 20, ACR 40, is not something which we are clinically relevant for us. So what I mean here is we use a principle what we call as Mahajano ena gatasapantaha. What it means in Sanskrit is Mahajan has 2 different meanings. Mahajan means great people, and Mahajan means a big group. So here, Mahajana eno gatasapantaha is something what has been taught in the Subhashita for saying that follow the great men's steps. The other way around is to follow the big group. What we do is, if any drug which works in more than 60% of the patients, we are willing to accept it as a drug and we manage it, forgetting that the 40% are not benefited by the same drug, or that 40% are treated and managed by a different group of drugs. So that being the case, the next step that what we are looking from the autoimmune disease management is precision medicine as well as the personalized medicine. But we still need a lot of biomarkers to identify who does good with B cell therapy, who does good with IL-6 blockers, and how and best we can manage these things. And personalization, most of us are doing, especially which comes to the cost, adverse event, and others. In addition to that, we also need to figure out who does the best job. So in a nutshell, in addition to the precision, in personalized cost effectiveness also comes into play. So overall, the basic problem is when it comes to the management of autoimmune disease, we still lack a clean data, because SLE, as you know, is a bunch of heterogeneous disease. Rheumatoid arthritis, as we go by syndrome, is also a heterogeneous group of disease, and we are doing trials and errors on the heterogeneous group of disease. That's putting us into a problem with reference to these personalized and precision medicine. The gap between the statistician and need in real-time clinical application is something which we are still not sure how to resolve this. And the complexity of the pathway, in contrast to other 4 models which I showed, is something which is there. So hopefully in next 10 years, there could be a big change in the way we approach autoimmune disease. And hopefully, this both personalized and precision medicine may alter and revolutionize the way we treat it. But the change will be there. Hopefully, that change should help us to treat our patients much better than what we are currently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the lovely lecture. I would request Dr. Pankaj Ajmere, sir, to felicitate Dr. Chandrasekhar, sir. Dr. Pankaj Ajmere.
It is our distinct pleasure to invite our ex-IRA President, a renowned and empowering leader, Dr. B.G. Dharmanand sir, for felicitation. May I call upon Dr. Sandeep Kharkar to do the honors? I would like to request Dr. Arvind Chopra sir to share his words of wisdom.
Good evening to all of you. What a wonderful evening. I think the Nagpur team has performed beyond our expectations. बिल्कुल जंगल में मंगल बना दिया तुमने. I could not imagine this kind of a situation or a environment or mahal, as we call it. Beautiful, very well done, Nagpur team. मैं तो लिखा भी था कि we are actually coming to meet these tigers. इनको देख लो, वापस चले जाओ घर. बाकी tigers देखे ना देखे क्या मालूम. Anyway, so thank you very much. I mean, I'm really I'm honored in many ways, more than one. And I'm an unlisted speaker. I never knew that I'm going to speak. So, and the science has been so well addressed by Chandrasekhar, and by many of you will be addressing it. I wish this meeting all the best. I'm sure it will be a great feast. I know time has been reduced because of the tigers, but that's also important. Morning, I mean, I got a call in the afternoon when I was actually half asleep that there's a safari in the afternoon. Would you like to come and see the tiger? And I said, शाम को tiger आते हैं, पानी पीने आते हैं. मैं कहा सुबह आएंगे क्या? सुबह खाना खाने आते हैं. I said, I'll go in the morning. I want to see that. Anyway, thank you very much. I think I look forward to this great evening. I'm sure all of you are going to have a wonderful time. Once again, thank you very much. Huge applause for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We are now delighted to call upon stage our beloved, committed and insightful mentor, MRA President Dr. Rohini Samant ma'am, to say a few words about MRA present and future.
So, a very good evening to all of you. And this is truly a delightful venue, and it's probably the best place to sort of combine business and pleasure. And the greens are really enchanting. So, thanks, Smriti, for that. And so, I welcome all our MRA colleagues as well as the distinguished guests on the dais. And I will be speaking about the present and the future of MRA. Now, MRA was conceived in 2017 under the guidance of Dr. V.R. Joshi, Dr. Pispati, Dr. Chopra, and this was to give a platform to the rheumatologists of this region. Now, we have a very young crowd in the MRA, and we have a very good demographic dividend. We also have a good mix of seniors to guide them. So, and these juniors who come from different parts of the country actually bring a lot of perspective, different perspectives, which enriches and enhances the organization. So, I'll talk about a few MRA activities that have been conducted through the last 2 years. Now, the MRA monthly teaching program was initiated by the previous committee. However, it has really taken off now with the inclusion of the national faculty. It's really enriched the program, and there are a lot of interface lectures. And I think our residents have really learnt a lot. It's been a very good learning experience for them. And I would like to give full credit to Dr. Kavita Krishna, Dr. Sunil Singh, and Dr. Girish Kakade, who are really part of this initiative. And I'm sure this will continue with, renewed vigor in the years to come. So this was one of the initiatives that we continued. We started a few new initiatives. One of them was the PG teaching program. Now, all of us have felt the deficit of a teaching program for postgraduate students in medicine. And that's why we undertook this task of contacting all the HODs from all over Maharashtra and getting their students on board for a bi-monthly lecture on rheumatological topics. And I'm very happy to announce that we have completed over the past 1.5 years a teaching program in rheumatology covering all the important practical aspects. Now, Dr. Shashank Akerkar, who's sitting here, Dr. Neena, and Varsha, who's absent today, they are the trinity behind the success of this program. So please clap for them. Yeah. And so the new committee has to really see how they want to take this forward. And I thought that, having practical case presentations by the juniors, by the PG students, and the discussion by the faculty will help improve the approach to rheumatology, which is really lacking amongst the postgraduate students. So that might be one of the ways forward. Now, in the MRA, we also set up a research committee. And this was meant to guide and encourage multi-center research in Maharashtra. Okay? And this committee is in place, and we have been able to do one multi-center study, and it will be presented as a poster in the present conference. Dr. Shubhada Kalke, who's taken a lead, has formulated a plan for writing up the research proposal and then submitting it for research grants. So, so I think we look forward to that in the AGM. Now about the SIGs. Last year, we started a few SIGs, and I'm happy to announce that at least 4 of them have taken off. And I think due credit should be given to Dr. Sunil Singh, Dr. Shashank Akerkar, I think Kavita, and which was the last is also Sandeep Yadav. Sandeep Yadav. So they have all these committees are doing good work, all these SIGs are doing good work. Few of them fell by the wayside, but maybe they can still revive with some more easily doable projects. Now, I'm also very, very happy and proud to announce that we have been able to start the the MRA website. And this will probably be launched during the AGM. And I think Shashank deserves a lot of credit for that. Shashank has strived hard to map all the rheumatologists across Maharashtra on the website so that if any patient wants to look up a nearby rheumatologist, they would probably be able to get that. Dr. Wagh, who's sitting here, has really helped put up all the patient education material in Marathi, mind you, for patients to access. We have got our DNB residents, our DM fellows, have put up all the latest advances and the treatment guidelines of various conditions on the website. So I think a creative use of this website really, there is no end to that, and the new committee can really work on making this a bigger success. The other thing that we were able to conduct this year was the MRA elections online. I think this is the first time it was conducted online. Again, credit to Shashank and Nachiket for this. And it was successfully conducted. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the newly elected members and also to wish Dr. Yojana Gokhale, who's now the new president of MRA, a very, very successful tenure. So what more for MRA in future? I think there's a lot more that one can do. And we really need to start patient education on the, under the banner of MRA. We need to do more collaborative, simple studies which are relevant to our setting. Maybe like chikungunya, someone had raised that on the group. We also need to write, publish more. And I think Sandeep probably can take a talk one of these days because he's really got the hang of how to write a paper. I would also request many of the youngsters, to take a leaf out of Shashank's book maybe, pursue one disease so that you become the go-to person. When you say AS, you think of Shashank. So similarly, pursue something you are known as an expert. So you're beginning your careers, just follow one or two things apart from doing the general rheumatology. We also need to extend our footprint in IRA, and that's a very tall order, but I'm sure our committee will take steps towards that. And of course, we need to consolidate all the strengths that we already have. Now, very briefly about the institutional progress. We have 3 institutes, 2 offering DNB and 1 DM in Maharashtra. And Hinduja has, of course, an old, about 15 years of DNB program, yeah. And with a lot of practical training, and we have these interface, a lot of consultation with the other specialities, and therefore this is still a sought after program. So often it's on the list in the first 10 rheumatologists who seek Hinduja Hospital. Bharatiya Vidyapeeth has been going all guns blazing this year. And I think they've done it all, say arranging workshops, lectures, national, international faculty, collaborative projects. I had to write it down. Presentation at national, international conferences, patient education programs, and kudos to all of them. Nair is a fledgling department, but I think Nilesh is an enthusiastic leader, and he's already part of some multi-center projects, and I wish him a very bright future. So finally, coming to the Mracon at Pench, everyone, Dr. Chopra has already spoken about the effort put in by Smriti. And I think I would like to salute your effort as well as all the youngsters in the various subcommittees under the guidance of Dr. Balakrishnan, who's the scientific chairman. And I'm sure we'll have a very fun, academically fulfilling, and hopefully big cat viewing, a lot of big cat viewing during this conference. And lastly, but most importantly, I would like to extend a very, very warm and really heartfelt thanks to all my committee members, particularly Shashank, the secretary. And I think without their support, it would not be possible to helm this organization. So long live MRA. And
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would like to request Dr. Parishik Sakdev, sir, to felicitate Dr. Rohini Samant, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I would request Dr. B.G. Dharmanand sir to say a few words of wisdom.
Good evening, one and all. It's my pleasure to be here amongst you once again. And I've been coming to MRA meetings since last 3-4 years, if I'm right. And I was a secretary when this MRA was actually crystallized and formed. And I did play a small role in getting these people united and get going. And it has grown wonderfully well. Mumbai and Pune, I can tell you now. So I was one of the mediators but I'm very happy to see the progress. And even when I was the president, when I was here, it's such a united team. And you have overtaken many of the other state chapters, like including Karnataka's chapters, in the way you conduct the meetings and you share the meetings. I kudos to Maharashtra and Gujarat and Kerala. These are the chapters which started much later, but they have all gone very well ahead. And this meeting was wonderful. And thank you, Shaila and Smriti, for the invitation. And I came mainly for the Tigers and the bench. And though I have no official role here as a past president, and it's always a pleasure to be amongst all the dear friends. Thank you very much, and wish the conference great success.
Thank you, sir. Our IRA Secretary, Dr. Vinod Ravindran, sir, could not join us, but he has sent a small video clip of him addressing the event.
Good evening, everyone. I bring my greetings to all of you from Calicut in Kerala. As we speak, I am on my way to meet you all at Bench near Nagpur for the Mracon 2024. And I would like to thank the organizers of this meeting, Dr. Smriti, Dr. Sachin, and all my seniors, colleagues, and friends from Maharashtra. I've been asked to discuss evolving rheumatology in the global context. So let me see how I get on. I would like to acknowledge Rheumatology Oxford, the journal I'm currently co-editing. Please consider this journal for your next original research work. Thank you. So it is not a surprise for any one of us to consider that we have, in fact, far less rheumatologists in India than what is required to serve current population, which is close to 1.4 billion. And we still have large areas where rheumatology services are poorly available. And then we all suffer from heavy caseloads. Initially we like it, and then it becomes very difficult to manage unless we have the required support. Then we have to consider poor infrastructure in general and the lack of resources, which is variable depending on where we work. If we'll consider the availability of rheumatologists in India compared to 2012, and on the right side there are figures from 2022, you can see that yes, it is true that we are adding about 65 to 70 rheumatologists every year to the pool, but the numbers are nowhere near to what is required to serve this vast population. Then we have to consider some well-known challenges such as highly prevalent comorbidities, diabetes, and high blood pressure. India is the capital of diabetes, poor cardiovascular health. Then we have the peculiar issues of pain and self-reported disability. So wherever these indices or tools are used, we may not get the correct picture as opposed to the Western world. Then we have the usage of complementary and alternative medicine. Then, of course, the rampant use of steroids and anti-inflammatory agents. And then the beliefs of the patients, the society in general, the perception of hierarchy of comorbidities where diabetes and high blood pressure are considered more serious than rheumatoid arthritis, even if it is very disabling, remains a concern. And then patients discontinue the medication, they are lost to follow because of several different factors. Now, it will be a fallacy to think that these factors are unique to India. Now, what is going to happen in next 30 years that all the countries are going to face higher and higher number of people with musculoskeletal conditions, autoimmune rheumatological conditions. Like in this slide, you can see that what is going to be the rise of rheumatoid arthritis prevalence in next 30 years. And this could be because of the aging population, because of the increase in numbers, and because of the true increase in incidence of these diseases because of various factors which may come to the being in later years. So if we consider the global perspective to evolving rheumatology, we can think of some of these topics or headings, which I'm going to discuss very briefly. One is the technological advancements. You all know that large language models and artificial intelligence have changed or is changing the way how clinical medicine operates. And these are integral or impactful to rheumatology also. In this example, we had shown that how the variety of tools, including the wearables and other devices and other apps, such as you see the MyRA and MyVectra, which allows the patient to feed in the disease activity parameters, and that is readily available to the rheumatologist. And looking at the overall predictability of the care-related outcome, you have something like Care Predict. So various different ways and means helped by digital tools which help improve the patient outcomes. The second aspect of global rheumatology would be personalized medicine. We all know that personalized medicine or precision medicine is basically customizing the treatment according to the individual needs. And they can be based on several different types of information, including genetics, lifestyle, and other factors such as ethnicity and socioeconomic strata. And this approach also globally is being recognized to improve treatment outcomes and reduce the adverse effects of the medicine. Now, if you consider rheumatology or the development of medications, for example, in rheumatoid arthritis, and compare it with oncology, you can appreciate the differences. In oncology, you have precise medications where the drugs are targeting specific cell surface receptors and molecular changes or mutations. For example, if I go back, you can see that here the medication is affecting the Philadelphia chromosome, which is linked to the CML. In contrast, let's say, for example, in rheumatoid arthritis, though there are increasingly sophisticated treatments which all of us are using variably, this is mainly a trial and error approach. So this is an area where Indian rheumatology has to evolve in contrast to rheumatology in general and oncology in specific. But in the want of that, there are again digital health tools which will help improve the pre-visit, during visit, and after visit outcomes for the patient. For example, here we had proposed a real-time operational and performance monitoring driven care delivery, where you can see that even pre-visit, an algorithmic questionnaire which is filled by the patient on his or her tab will be interpreted by nurse, revised, and the clinician will be pre-informed so that the outcome of the consultation of this patient when he visits the clinician or rheumatologist would be better. And then the, the prescription and the other treatment approaches would be more personalized and would be guided by relevant apps. And this all results in positive or even more positive outcomes for our patients. So this is again an example of personalization at the scale of diverse disease clusters in rheumatology. To give you another example, this is where the digital tools can help personalizing the treatment with somebody who has chronic back pain. So you can see that the electronic health records, app-based pain tabulation, patient-reported outcomes, and other factors, these are all fed and are available to the clinician who is treating a patient with chronic back pain. And the clinical interventions can be several. It could be lifestyle modification, app-based educational support, medication, virtual reality-related assisted physical rehabilitation, cognitive behavioral therapy. So the personalization of the data, which is fed in and available to the clinician for the management of chronic back pain, with the help of digital health tools, can help formulate a personalized treatment approach for an individual. Then we consider global collaboration, international collaborations and partnerships. Now, this is not only at the level of research, but examples such as this, where in our recent book on rarer arthropathies, we engage with 11 authors based in different parts of the world, including Mexico, USA, Malaysia, United Kingdom, Italy, Australia, and Singapore. So this is an example where collaborative work can happen. It is not just about doing the collaborative research. And again, to give you one more example, is this is our forthcoming volume on topical rheumatology at the best practice research, and where again we have collaborated with international authors and key opinion leaders to bring to you volume which is relevant to you as far as topical rheumatology is concerned. Then health equity is one aspect where all the countries are increasingly recognizing that there are health disparities and inequities, which is relevant to rheumatology also. And to address that, it is not only important to diversify the health workforce. For example, in the United States, it would be unthinkable now just to have workforce led by or delivered by white Caucasian population. It is important to have Afro-Caribbean and the clinicians and the caregivers from other ethnicities also. So the workforce has to be representative of the population it is serving. Then educational materials, and then implicit bias training, where we think that, because we come from this position, we are superior in any way or manner, is again relevant factor as far as health inequity is concerned. Gayatri and me wrote an editorial in Indian Journal of Rheumatology, and this is one area in India, in rheumatology, we are grossly lacking. We talk about the numbers and the need in a very abstract way, but unless we have dedicated health economic studies in rheumatology, we would not know what actually is required, and we cannot develop models to deliver healthcare in rheumatology in a sustainable way. Then comes the research and clinical trials. Everybody wants to do research and clinical trials. And in global rheumatology context also, this is a main area of thirst, which will lead to rightly improvement in the patient care. Now, the AI applications in various stages of clinical trials can be very, very helpful. As you can see in this diagram, which me and Suchitra published 2 years ago, you can see that right from trial design to completion with trial initiation and the phases subsequent, the AI and data analytics can actually help in improving the resource allocation and streamlining the workflow as far as the research is concerned. Now, I do not want the audience to be put off by thinking that research is difficult, meaning if you are not in an institute, you cannot do any research. I myself, I think, is an example that this is not true. I would encourage you to look at this publication, which has allowed us to discuss conducting research at non-teaching institutions, and we offer some challenges and solutions, including in terms of resources, finances, and the actual execution of the research. Then global rheumatology is moving towards patient-centered care. What is the end result of all this research, the collaboration, and having a diverse workforce? It is to improve the patient care. So whatever is being done, that should be the focus. And this is important to improve the outcomes for our patients. So how do you start doing that? Now, with the available resources you have, with the available, let's say, pool of clinicians you have, medications you have to have an approach where you see what is actually required for our country. So globally, the advent of clinical care pathways takes into account what can be really done. And then, as we said here, that there are many international guidelines, for example, managing pregnancies and rheumatic diseases. The execution of such a plan could be limited if you are not aware about the limitations and the utility of such approaches. So how do you do that? On one side, you have stakeholders. In this example, you have patients, healthcare professionals, and resources. Then you have barriers in the context of, let's say, pregnancy and rheumatic diseases. The patients are fearful and they are not aware of the safe medication. How do you address that? You want to start patient education programs, and you want to counsel the patients and their caregivers. For healthcare professionals, where there is a lack of coordination, there is a lack of relevant knowledge, again, you want to do interdisciplinary CME, which this current Mracon is also an example. But having looked at the barriers and attempting to find solutions for them is not enough. There has to be a mechanism of improving the approaches continuously. And this could be by actively engaging with the stakeholders, periodically auditing what is going on, and then revising these clinical care pathways appropriately and weeding out logistical issues. There could be financial issues, there could be manpower related issues, and looking at how it can be locally more adaptable to the local needs. So these are all very, very relevant in the context of global rheumatology. Then we have to be mindful of the global issues. So climate change is affecting everybody. There is increased travel, migration, conflicts, war, and so on. And this not only has the potential to affect physical, but also the mental health, including rheumatology care. So to give an example, if you look at this particular slide, you see that as far as the vectors of chikungunya is concerned, you have Aedes albopicus and Aedes aegypti, and you can see in green and blue the areas where they are prevalent as vectors. But now if you look at this particular slide, where it has been shown that the evidence of chikungunya virus transmission to humans in the last 5 years, you can see that this is much broader compared to the areas where vectors of chikungunya.
Due to technical glitches, we'll be halting this presentation. Our IRA president has an announcement to make. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think, since I was involved too much in this subject, I forgot to say that. I think as a chairman and IRA president, I would like to welcome all of you in the month of November to attend the Indian Rheumatology Association conference. And I think we have made elaborate arrangements. I hope you will be enjoying the palatial hosting in Bangalore Palace. I welcome all of you. And I also take this opportunity, I think this time in Maharashtra, Mumbai, in December 6th and 7th, we have a unique meeting of one of our society where I'm a secretary, what we call as Society of Inflammation Research, which is a conglomerate of both basic scientists as well as the clinicians who are working on different inflammation things. It's going to be in MGM Medical College, Navi Mumbai. I proactively ask you, all of you, to join us in that meeting too, because that will help us to outreach to our collaborators whom I require sometime when we are going to work on the basic science, and also understand what do they want and how we want from them. I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There is a small announcement. There are few feedback and attendance forms in the registration kit bag. So please fill them and submit it. It's needed for a MMC credit hours. Please fill the forms and submit it at the hetero counter. Thank you. We would now like to felicitate our iconic and honorable MRI Secretary, Dr. Shashank Akerkar, sir. I would request Dr. Akash Khune, sir, to felicitate, sir.
It is my honor to now call upon our charismatic, legendary, and inspirational mentor, our scientific chairperson, Dr. C. Balakrishnan, sir, who would provide us with a bird's eye view of our scientific program or upcoming session.
Thank you. That was very profuse. I'm not very good at extempo speeches, especially the ones that take place. So I've written a few things down. So friends, colleagues, and invited speakers, some of them are here already. I have been given the great privilege of being the scientific committee chair for this year's Mracon. I'm thankful to the MRA members in Nagpur and Vidarbha for reposing their faith in me. The scientific committee of this year's Mracon has painstakingly selected important practical topics in the field of rheumatology. Eminent speakers from allied medical specialties who have worked on these topics. They've all done yeoman work. The ones who are going to talk, they've also worked on this, the ones who are coming and speaking to us. We've also made sure that members from our own rheumatology community with rich experience also take part in these deliberations. To keep the interest levels up, we've also inducted a quiz and a debate, which I think will be good. The most important thing for me was what was started by Rohini last year, the SIG. And I think probably we should be giving much more importance to SIG and the output. We can and have to do innovative original research. And I think there is something that we can do, and there is nothing that can stop us if we really think about it. It need not ape the West for everything. What one concept comes, you don't have to think that that's the only way that it has to go. You can come up with something very innovative, very practical, something very specific and indigenous for us. And I think all of us have it in us to do it. This is what I've written. I think the Indian brain is unique and has the capacity to solve problems. So we need confidence and belief in ourselves. We don't have to keep just doing what others are doing. And I have no hesitation in saying that we'll be able to do that. And the delegates who attend the conference are often the lifeline. In MRA, we are fortunate to have a group of rheumatologists who, for most part, are very clinical. We do need basic science, But at the moment, somebody was asking, I was chairing some session somewhere on T to T. T to T, right? It's treat to target. At that conference, I remember saying that T to T for India is train to treat. So we still need to train other people as well. So wherever you're doing well, we have 2 or 3 rheumatologists together at that center. Please get fellows under you to train them. At least try and start a DNB. It's difficult, but you start doing it. Otherwise, you'll never be able to train people. And training more people is the way forward. I'm sure, like always, the deliberations will be fruitful. And when this Mracon finishes, we'll have gained in knowledge and would be in a position to apply the knowledge in our daily practice. Once again, I invite you all to be part of this academic feast and help it make it a memorable meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Requesting Dr. Salil Ghaner to felicitate Dr. Balki, sir. So now we would invite on stage Dr. Shubhda Kalki ma'am, and who better than a student taking us through the journey of her mentor, Dr. VRJ sir. He is a visionary, strategic mentor, our guiding light, our inspiration and pioneer of rheumatology. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I thank the organizers for giving me the honor to talk about my beloved teacher. I could not have asked for better participation in this conference. At the same time, I hope I can do justice to the confidence bestowed onto me. It is hard to cover lifetime achievements of a personality like Dr. Joshi in 10-15 minutes. And I never like to shoot my time, but please pardon me today if I do that. Slides. Dr. Joshi was born in Mandla city of Madhya Pradesh in 1936. His school education was in Mandla, Mehekar and Nagpur. His father was a general practitioner in the rural area. He used to do home visit after dispensary hours in interior villages without expecting rewards. This had enormous impact on him. He imbibed and passed on values of kindness, honesty, and integrity to all of us. He continued his medical education in Nagpur and completed in 1962. He continued there as a lecturer in medicine and where he met his wife in the same hospital. Where very few will know that he has training in radiation medicine and nutrition. After that, he came back to Bombay and worked as a reader in medicine in JJ Hospital. And then he joined Topiwala Nair Medical College and BYL Nair Hospital. He got interested in neurology after working with Dr. Singhal and Dr. Wadia. However, untimely death of Professor M.M. Desai, who pioneered rheumatology in India, brought Dr. Joshi to rheumatology as a chief in 1979. He took further training in Royal Hospital, Bath with stalwarts like Professor Alan Dixon, who was his primary consultant, and he also worked with Professor Paul Bacon, Professor Paul Diep, Professor Medicine, and Professor Clark. Lab training was learnt at Hammersmith Hospital with Professor Graham Hughes. He had to get serum samples from the UK, and not just serum samples, even the pipette to start the ANA in Nair, and even the immunology lab. Dr. Malaviya also helped him training the lab chief biochemist because it was becoming too much to doing with clinical work, even the liver slices for ANA. He started the rheumatology lab and he continued rheumatology along with, continued as a professor and subsequently head of medicine in Nair. And this he continued till 1988. After that, he joined Hinduja Hospital as a consultant physician and rheumatologist. He has always been actively involved in research, and he became a research director 1997 onwards. Dr. Joshi loved photography. I have heard the stories about it from him. I just came to know that he represented tennis in the college. It will be stupid of me to talk about his excellence in clinical medicine and rheumatology and teaching the same to all of us because we are witness to that. Sir has taught nursing, dental, MSc research, physical medicine, MBBS under and postgraduate, and being their examiner too. He has been mentoring most of us in this audience. I have attended Hinduja research meetings on many occasions, and the quality of clinical and medicine lab research in a private setup which he has established is unparalleled. He also has planned studies in Ayurveda and homeopathy medicine with respective practitioner for treatment of rheumatic diseases. He has been, this is all of us whom he has trained. He has been editor to number of journals, the main one being JAPI, as a chief editor and emeritus editor. He is reviewer of Rheumatology UK and on advisory board of lot of journals. He has edited lot of books. I am unable to give you details because accolades appear to be cheaper by the dozen here. Dr. Joshi has contributed to more than dozen textbooks. The most important being API from 4th edition to 10th edition. He has 24 orations to his credit and innumerable publications in esteemed journals, abstract, lectures, education and public awareness activities, charity work over last 50 years. I am going to skip the details of the association of membership and various positions held in IRA and other organizations. He has contributed as a director to the film in rheumatology in 1990 and IRA initiated audiovisual film. He has also been actively involved in Indian guidelines for rheumatoid arthritis and SLE. Dr. Joshi has received many honors. For the lack of time, I decided to mention only few. He was honorary rheumatologist to Government of Maharashtra, September 99 onwards. He received Karma Yogi Puraskar, Bombay Medical Aid Foundation in 2002, Lifetime Contribution Award in 2002, and M.N. Pasi Award in 2008. He was felicitated as a pioneer of Indian rheumatology in 2015, and Aplar Master Award in 2019, which late Dr. Landa received for Dr. Joshi. He has also received awards for Best Teacher and Referee, and of course, we are not surprised about that. His journey will be incomplete without mention of able support of his better half, Dr. Mrs. Jayashree Joshi. She is a gynecologist by profession. Sir and Madam both were going to be here today. Unfortunately, they have not come. She has been former Deputy Director, Institute of Research in Reproduction in Mumbai, and currently Deputy Director of Bhavan Swami Prakashan and Ayurveda Research Center. She has also been involved in research all her life and has been on ethics committee. It is equally inspiring to meet her every time I go to their house with Sir. The family is complete with two well-educated and well-placed daughters, one being pediatrician and other MBA. I met Sir for the first time at Hinduja Hospital when I was admitted under him with typhoid, and I was afebrile on Cifran. This was when I was doing medicine post-graduation myself in JJ. and I was admitted to complete IV medication near home. I will never forget the way sir examined me that day. He taught thorough general and systemic examination by example to a postgraduate student. Who would examine already recovered patient getting IV infusion in such a great detail? A big lesson learned on the very first interaction. No shortcut to proper history and examination, demonstrated live yet silently. I decided that day that I will work with him someday. After typhoid, I continued to get low-grade fever for a month. And with his calm demeanor, he taught me little medicine too. Initially, I worked in ICU and cardiology at Hinduja after MD. This is because my sciatica started after MD and could not work for long hours. But other reason also was that there was a waiting list to work with sir. I managed to join him eventually. What is important is that the seat was kept vacant for me for 6 months till the earlier department relieved me. And it wasn't given to next on the waiting list because I could not join. If the patient is not better, Dr. Joshi would ask us to review the history, each and every report and paper, and most of the time he will find the missing point in the history and we would reach the diagnosis. If the patient is not affording, he would indicate to us not to charge very silently. Complicated, confusing, entangled history would straighten up to simple, straightforward diagnosis in sir's hand. I have always seen him calm, composed, not losing his temper under any circumstances, just like my father. He encouraged me to write articles, present abstracts, oral presentation. He was the one who wrote recommendation and kept it in my hand and told me to apply for fellowship. When I said I'm happy working with him, he smiled and said, "This is the time to widen vision. You should work in different places with different experts, develop your own futuristic vision and as to how you want to do it. If I'm here today, it is because of him." You must be wondering why I'm telling so much about myself, but I just thought that there are some points which can be only explained, the extraordinary qualities, through personal experience. And I'm going to share one of his first and one of his last students who could not be here. So we'll hear a little bit of them. How do I start? हाँ, ऑडियो भी लगा है।
Dr. Nimesh Nanavati from Mumbai, Dr. Vinay Joshi, our sir, I know him since my student as IRA secretary under sir's presidency. Sir is a different person altogether. He is not only a good teacher, but he is an extremely good human being. This long association of mine with Sir has profound effect on my life as a human being and in my career as rheumatologist. We have traveled together for many conferences of IRA and international conferences. We shared common room, and he would wake up early in the morning, have a cup of tea, and when I come up, he will always offer me to make tea for me. As student and lecturer and registrar, he always encouraged that we should do research. And for him, research will not mean a big presentation, but even a simple case presentation which has some meaning. And he always insisted that my name should be first and Sir's name would come later on, which is a rare in today's time. He was not only a good teacher and a good clinician, but he was very easily accessible, and his willingness to help anyone at any given time makes him a different person altogether. During my residency as post-grad, I was unwell with typhoid, he had visited me on the 4th floor of RMO quarters, examined me thoroughly, and said that whenever he needs me, he would come and examine me. All these examples have profound effect on my life. I wish best health to sir. Thank you very much.
To try a new drug and never be the last either. Safety first, he used to tell me. And he used to tell the patients, the disease is much worse than the drug's possible side effects. Hence, take the medication because the disease is worse than cancer. It will not let you live. It will not let you die and keep you suffering. I still take my histories the way he taught me, and I still follow the same clinical examination steps in the way that he taught me. And I still write my findings, followed by my thoughts in the order that I saw him write. The older I get, the more his words come back to me every single day. He thought laterally. What does not fit is where the answer may lie as the cause of the patient's symptoms. I hardly get to talk to him nowadays, but I'm sure he knows that one of his students is walking and retracing his footsteps every day on the path that he laid. As far as I'm concerned, my behavior and my thoughts are the culmination of what my father taught me and my foster father taught me. That's VRG.
Last year, DNB Rheumatology was started at Nair Hospital with arduous work of Dr. Seema Kini, and Dr. Nilesh Nolka is taking the baton forwards. In March 2024, World Rheumatology Forum Summit, Chennai, Best Abstract Oral Presentation by Rheumatology Trainee is bestowed name of Professor V.R. Joshi. Dr. Dr. Shashank Akerkar has taken Dr. Joshi's interview with Dr. Balakrishnan's introduction under auspices of IRA, which will be released soon. In fact, we are trying to give you the link. It is not already uploaded, but it will be soon done and we'll inform you. But we are declaring it today. And Dr. Smruti Ramteke, with all the her team at Mracon Nagpur, has proposed to EC that we start oration at Mracon with Dr. Joshi's name, and we'll be putting this forward to AGM tomorrow. It is a very proud moment today. Dr. M.M. Desai started rheumatology in India. Dr. forward in Maharashtra, of course, along with Dr. Pispati and Dr. Arvind Chopra. We have traveled long way from a non-existent branch to starting of IRA, and today we are holding a state conference, which is also getting bigger by the day. His boundless enthusiasm, vision, eagerness to share knowledge, and appetite for learning continues to inspire us even now, and I'm sure the next generation too. The best way I know I can express all this is the poem I had written for his retirement. अंधारल्या होत्या साऱ्या दिशा, उजळली जीवनी प्रफुल्ल उषा, कुरुरूपाने पल्लवली आशा, संधी विषयाची चढली नशा. प्रसन्न मितभाषी मृदुस्मित, प्रसन्न मितभाषी मृदुस्मित, साधेपणाची आगळी रीत, कार्यमग्न अविरत, कार्यमग्न अविरत, मनी सतत रुग्णहित. अभ्यासाचा सदैव ध्यास, अभ्यासाचा सदैव ध्यास, ज्ञानदानाचा हव्यास, उत्कृष्टतेची एकच आस, गुरुमूर्ती ही अमुची खास. मनोगत सांगता शब्द थिटे, मन माझे जाणती ते. निरामय आयुरारोग्य चिंतिते, आठवती अनेक सुभाषिते. थोडीशी सांगते. मूर्ती लहान पण कीर्ती महान, झाले बहु होतील बहु, परंतु यास महा. दिव्यत्वाची जेथ प्रचिती, तेथे कर माझे जुळती. आणि हे आपल्यासाठी आहे. देणाऱ्याने देत जावे, घेणाऱ्याने घेत जावे, घेता घेता एक दिवस देणाऱ्याचे हात घ्यावे. आणि शेवटी गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णू गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः.
Thank you, ma'am. Requesting Dr. Sameer Sarda to felicitate Dr. Kalke, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Dr. Spruti Ramteke, ma'am, on the dais for reading out Dr. Vijay's message.
Sir is watching us all online, and he is overwhelmed with the proceedings, and he has sent me a message for me to announce that he has thanked each and everyone at the conference and wishes all the best for the Mracon in future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request Dr. Yojana Gokhale, ma'am, to accept the token of appreciation on behalf of Dr. V.R. Joshi, sir. I'm inviting Dr. Smriti Ramteke, ma'am, to do the honors.
Thank you, ma'am. So now let's join us for a spectacular cultural program. Get ready to be enthralled by the talent of our performers. Please join us at the cricket stadium for a cultural feast. Thank you. We conclude this felicitation ceremony.
We request all the families of the delegates as well as the delegates to join us downstairs for the cultural event and dinner.